The silver ship drifted through space like a sleeping giant. Inside, 50,000 humans lay frozen in their sleep pods, dreaming of a new world they would never see. The new horizon had been humanity's pride, carrying families and scientists to build a colony around a distant star. Now it belonged to the Zephyrians. Commander Velkin stood on the bridge of his research vessel, watching his crew examine the captured human ship. His blue-scaled hands moved across the control panel as he studied the sleeping faces on his screen. Each human looked so peaceful, unaware that their fate had already been decided. "Wake one of them," Velkin ordered his chief scientist, Dr. Nira. "Choose carefully, we need someone who will talk, Will?" Nira nodded and walked to her scanner. Her large eyes glowed as she read the data. "This one shows interesting brain patterns," she said, pointing to a woman in her 30s. "Her name is Lisa Montgomery. She studies ocean life." "Perfect. Scientists like to explain things." They moved Lisa's pod to the research station, a massive facility hidden in an asteroid field. The Zephyrians had built this place to study other species before conquering them. The walls were white and clean, filled with machines that could read thoughts and emotions. Lisa woke up slowly. Her brown eyes opened and she tried to sit up, confused and scared. The last thing she remembered was going into the sleep pod on Earth. Now she was in a strange room with creatures she had never seen before. "Do not be afraid," Velkin said, his voice coming through a translator. "We are the Zephyrians. You are safe." Lisa looked around the room. The aliens were tall and thin, with blue skin and large black eyes. They moved gracefully, like dancers. "Where am I? Where is my ship?" "Your ship is secure. We brought you here to learn about your people. Think of this as a cultural exchange." Lisa felt confused but tried to stay calm. She was a scientist, trained to observe and understand. "What do you want to know?" "Everything. How you think, how you feel, what makes you who you are." For the next 3 months, Lisa lived in comfortable rooms within the research station. The Zephyrians treated her well, giving her good food and books to read. They asked her thousands of questions about human life, families, and emotions. Lisa thought they were simply curious about her species. She told them about her childhood, growing up with 2 younger brothers. She explained how her parents had worked 3 jobs each to send her to college. She described the joy she felt when she held her newborn nephew for the first time. "You speak often of family," Velkin noted during one of their daily talks. "Why is this so important to humans?" Lisa smiled, thinking of home. "Family is everything. When someone threatens your family, you would do anything to protect them. Absolutely anything." The Zephyrians recorded every word. Their machines measured her brainwaves when she talked about love, fear, and anger. But they paid special attention when she described what happened when families were in danger. "Tell me about protection," Velkin said one day. "Well, there was this story in the news before I left Earth," Lisa began. "A mother lifted a car to save her trapped child. Doctors said it should have been impossible, but she did it anyway. When your family is threatened, your body can do incredible things. Your body changes. Not just your body. Your mind becomes clearer. You think faster. You become stronger than you ever thought possible. It's like nothing else matters except saving the people you love." Dr. Nira watched the readings on her screen. When Lisa talked about protecting family, her brain showed patterns they had never seen before. It was not simple anger or fear. It was something much more powerful. "Show me these patterns again," Velkin demanded after reviewing the data. They played recordings of children crying, showed Lisa images of families in danger, and told her stories of people being hurt. Each time her brain responded the same way. Her heart rate increased, but not from panic. Her mind became sharper and more focused. Her muscles tensed as if preparing for battle. "Fascinating," Velkin whispered. "This emotion overrides everything else: logic, self-preservation, even basic survival instincts." The Zephyrians had conquered 17 different species by understanding their weaknesses. The Altarians fell when the Zephyrians made them too sad to fight. The Centauri became so paranoid they turned on each other. Each victory had been quick and clean. But humans were different. This protective emotion did not make them weak. It made them dangerous. Velkin called a meeting with the High Command. The room filled with the most powerful Zephyrians in their empire. They listened as he explained his discovery. Humans have an emotion we have never encountered, he reported. When they believe their families are threatened, they become capable of extraordinary things. Their intelligence increases, their strength multiplies, they ignore pain and fatigue. Then, we avoid triggering this response, suggested General Crix. No, Velkin said with a cold smile. We weaponize it. He explained his plan to the assembled leaders. They would use their technology to create this protective emotion artificially, but instead of making humans stronger, they would twist it. They would make humans so angry and confused that they would attack their own families. Imagine, Velkin continued, parents destroying their own children because they cannot tell friend from enemy. Communities tearing themselves apart because everyone seems like a threat. We turn their greatest strength into their ultimate weakness. The High Command approved the plan immediately. They had resources and technology that could manipulate emotions across entire planets. Project Heartbreak would be their masterpiece. Lisa continued her daily talks with Velkin, unaware that her words were being used to plan humanity's destruction. She missed her family terribly but believed she was helping build understanding between species. She even taught some of the younger Zephyrians about human music and art. When will I see my family again? She asked one evening. Soon, Velkin promised. Very soon you will return to them with an important message. Lisa felt excited. She imagined telling her brothers about the Zephyrians, about their advanced technology and their desire for peace. She had no idea that she was about to become the first weapon in their war against humanity. The research was complete. The Zephyrians understood exactly how human protective emotions worked. They had built machines that could detect and amplify these feelings across vast distances. They had prepared false evidence of torture and suffering that would convince any human of their cruelty. All that remained was to test their new weapon on real targets. 3 human colonies had been selected: New Eden, Harrison's Point, and Millfield. Colony. Millions of humans lived on these worlds, building new lives among the stars. They would be the first to experience the true horror of having their love turned against them. Or so the Zephyrians believed. The war room buzzed with quiet activity, as Zephyrian engineers put the final touches on their emotion machines. These devices looked like simple communication towers, but they carried technology that could reach into human minds and twist their deepest feelings. Dr. Nira supervised the final tests on a prototype machine. She watched as it successfully made a captured human soldier believe his own shadow was an enemy, attacking his family. The man had tried to fight his own reflection for 6 hours before collapsing from exhaustion. Perfect, she reported to Velkin. The machines can target the protective emotion with complete accuracy. They will make humans see threats everywhere, even where none exist. Velkin nodded with satisfaction. 6 months of work had led to this moment. How many devices do we need for full planet coverage? 12 per world should be sufficient. We place them near population centers and activate them simultaneously. The emotional chaos will spread like wildfire. The plan was beautifully cruel in its simplicity. First, they would send Lisa back to human space carrying fabricated evidence of Zephyrian brutality. Her testimony would spread fear throughout the human colonies. Some worlds would fight, others would try to negotiate. Then they would activate the emotion machines on 3 test worlds. Parents would see their own children as threats. Teachers would attack their students. Entire communities would destroy themselves in confused rage and fear. General Kree studied the target worlds on his tactical display. Why these 3 colonies specifically? Each represents a different type of human settlement, Velkin explained. New Eden is agricultural, with strong family structures. Harrison's Point is a research colony full of scientists and intellectuals. Millfield Colony focuses on manufacturing and industry. If our weapon works on all 3 types, it will work everywhere. The infiltration teams prepared to depart. Each group consisted of 5 Zephyrians disguised as human traders or refugees. They would plant the emotion machines and pose as ordinary colonists until activation day. Commander Zax led the team assigned to New Eden. He had studied human behavior for years and could perfectly mimic their speech and customs. His team carried the emotion amplifiers and cargo containers marked as farming equipment. Remember, Belkin instructed the teams, blend in completely, make friends, learn about local families and relationships. The more we know about their emotional connections, the more effective our weapon becomes. Meanwhile, Lisa prepared for her return journey. The Zephyrians had shown her fabricated videos of her fellow colonists being tortured in alien laboratories. She wept as she watched actors dressed as her friends screaming in apparent agony. "This is what will happen to every human if your people do not surrender," Velkin told her. "You must convince them that resistance is hopeless." Lisa's hands shook as she held the data chips containing the false evidence. "Why are you showing me this? I thought we were building friendship between our species." "We tried friendship first," Velkin lied smoothly. "But your military leaders refused our peaceful offers. Now we must use stronger methods to protect ourselves." "Protect yourselves from what? We're just colonists trying to build new homes. Your species expands too quickly. Soon you will threaten our territory. We cannot allow that." Lisa felt her heartbreaking. The months of cultural exchange had been a lie. These creatures she had grown to respect were planning genocide. "Please, there has to be another way." "There is. Complete surrender. Your leaders must agree to relocate all human colonies to worlds we designate. Any resistance will result in the total elimination of your species." They gave Lisa a small ship and sent her toward the human defense perimeter. She carried the false evidence and a message of doom for her entire species. The Zephyrians watched her go, confident that she would do exactly what they wanted. The infiltration teams reached their targets without incident. On New Eden, Commander Zax and his group established themselves as agricultural consultants helping local farmers improve crop yields. The humans welcomed them warmly, sharing meals and stories about their lives. Zax learned about the colony administrator Helen Carter, a former military officer who now managed the settlement of 200,000 people. She had a teenage son, named Danny, who wanted to be an engineer, and she often talked about wanting to give him a better future than Earth could offer. On Harrison's point, the team integrated with the scientific community. They posed as researchers studying local plant life and quickly made friends among the colonists. Dr. Alan Foster, a xenobiologist, even invited them to weekly dinner parties where scientists shared their latest discoveries. The Millfield colony team found work in the manufacturing sector. Team leader Voss took a job in the main factory, where he met construction supervisor Maria Rodriguez. She ran crews that built everything from housing to industrial equipment. Her workers treated her like family, and she clearly cared deeply about their safety and welfare. Each team carefully mapped the emotional connections within their assigned colonies. They identified the strongest family bonds, the most respected community leaders, and the people others would instinctively protect. This information would help them calibrate the emotion machines for maximum chaos. The humans trust too easily. Commander Zax reported during a secure communication with Velkin. "They treat us like old friends already. When we activate the machines, the betrayal will make their rage even stronger." "Excellent. Are the devices in position?" "All 12 machines are installed and hidden. The humans think they are upgrading their communication network. They even helped us carry the equipment." Similar reports came from the other teams. The emotion amplifiers were hidden in plain sight across all 3 worlds, disguised as routine infrastructure improvements. The humans had unknowingly assisted in preparing their own destruction. Lisa arrived at the human defense perimeter 3 weeks after leaving the research station. The patrol ship that intercepted her small vessel immediately recognized her as a missing colonist from the New Horizon. Captain Roy Henderson of the Colonial Defense Force personally debriefed Lisa at the nearest military base. He watched the fabricated videos with growing horror, seeing apparent evidence of systematic torture and experimentation on human prisoners. "How many survivors are there?" he asked quietly. "I don't know," Lisa sobbed. "They only showed me a few. The aliens said they would kill everyone if humanity doesn't surrender completely." Henderson felt his protective instincts flare at the sight of Lisa's tears and the evidence of human suffering. He immediately sent emergency messages to Earth and all the outer colonies. The false evidence spread through human space like wildfire. Colony leaders faced an impossible choice: fight and risk the total annihilation of their people, or surrender and hope the Zephyrians would show mercy. Many chose to negotiate, hoping to find a peaceful solution. But 3 colonies never received the surrender ultimatum. New Eden, Harrison's Point, and Millfield Colony continued their normal routines, unaware that they had been selected as test subjects for a weapon designed to turn their love into madness. The infiltration teams received final activation codes from Velkin. In 72 hours, they would simultaneously activate all emotion machines across the 3 worlds. The Zephyrian fleet waited in nearby space, ready to observe the results and claim the destroyed colonies. After this demonstration, Velkin told his staff, "Every remaining human world will surrender immediately rather than face the same fate. We will have conquered an entire species without firing a single shot." The Zephyrians celebrated early, convinced their victory was assured. They had studied human emotions, built the perfect weapon, and positioned themselves for a bloodless conquest. Nothing could go wrong with such a carefully planned operation. But they had made one crucial error in their understanding of human nature. The protective emotion they planned to weaponize was not just about defending family members from external threats. It was about ensuring the survival and success of the entire human community. When humans believed their families were in danger, they did not become confused and self-destructive. They became united, focused, and absolutely determined to eliminate whatever threatened their loved ones. The Zephyrians were about to discover that they had not created a weapon against humanity. They had created humanity's greatest gift. The morning sun rose over New Eden like any other day. Farmers tended their crops in the vast agricultural fields that stretched beyond the horizon. Children played in the settlement squares, while their parents prepared for another day of building their new world. Helen Carter stood in her office reviewing supply reports when the emotion machines activated. The change was instant and overwhelming. Helen felt a surge of fury unlike anything she had ever experienced. But it was not blind rage. Her mind became crystal clear, sharper than it had ever been. Every detail around her seemed to glow with perfect clarity. Something was threatening her son. She knew it with absolute certainty. Danny was at the engineering school when the wave hit him too. The 17-year-old felt the same protective fire ignite in his chest, but instead of confusion, he experienced a moment of perfect understanding. His mind raced through complex calculations he had never learned, seeing solutions to problems that had puzzled his teachers for years. All across New Eden, 200,000 people felt the same transformation. Parents dropped their tools and rushed to find their children. Workers abandoned their posts to check on their families. But instead of chaos, something extraordinary happened. They moved with perfect coordination. Helen found herself organizing the entire colony without conscious thought. She knew exactly where everyone was, what skills they possessed, and how to coordinate their efforts. Her enhanced mind processed information at impossible speeds. "Danny," she called over the communication system, her voice steady despite the fire in her chest. "Report to Engineering Station 7. Bring the Williams boy and Sarah's daughter. I need power systems modified immediately." "Already on it, Mom," Danny's voice came back. "I've figured out how to boost our shield generators by 300%. Give me 2 hours." Similar conversations happened across the colony. Teacher Janet Phillips found herself calculating defensive positions using mathematical principles she had never studied. Factory worker Bob Turner began designing weapons with engineering knowledge that seemed to flow from somewhere deep in his enhanced mind. Dr. Alan Foster on Harrison's Point experienced the same transformation. The scientist felt protective fury consume his thoughts, but instead of making him irrational, it made him superhuman. He looked at the communication towers that had been installed by their helpful alien friends and immediately understood their true purpose. They're emotion amplifiers, he announced to his research team. These machines are designed to manipulate our feelings. His colleague, Dr. Jennifer Walsh, nodded, her own enhanced mind already working on the problem. But they're not making us destructive. They're making us better. Within 3 hours, Alan had reverse-engineered the alien technology. His team worked with incredible speed and perfect coordination, their enhanced minds solving complex problems faster than their most advanced computers. On Millfield Colony, construction supervisor Maria Rodriguez felt the protective fire ignite as she stood in the main factory. But instead of seeing her workers as threats, she saw them as family members who needed protection from something outside their world. Everyone listen carefully, she announced over the factory communication system. Something is trying to hurt our families. We need to build defenses and we need to do it fast. Her workers responded instantly. Welders began creating armor plating with designs they had never seen before. Assembly line workers started producing weapons using manufacturing techniques they had just invented. Engineers calculated structural improvements that should have taken months of planning. The emotion machines had not created chaos. They had created 3 fortress worlds defended by humans operating at peak efficiency. Commander Zax watched from his hidden position as New Eden transformed around him. This was not what the Zephyrians had planned. Instead of humans attacking each other, they were working together with impossible coordination. Base command, he whispered into his communicator. The weapon is not working as expected. The humans are not destroying themselves. Explain, Velkin's voice crackled back. They are building defenses, organizing. Their children are solving, engineering problems that should be impossible. Something has gone wrong. Velkin felt his confidence waver as similar reports came from all 3 colonies. The humans were not falling apart. They were becoming stronger. On New Eden, Helen Carter stood in the main command center that had been built in just 6 hours. Her son Danny had designed power systems that exceeded anything in their original colony plans. Teacher Janet Phillips had calculated optimal defensive positions for their entire settlement. Factory workers had built weapons and armor using techniques that surpassed their previous technology. Mom, Danny said, looking up from a control panel he had assembled from spare parts. I'm detecting Zephyrian life signs in the colony. 12 of them, positioned near the communication towers. Helen nodded, unsurprised. The enhanced clarity in her mind had already told her they were being watched. Security teams, move to arrest the infiltrators. Do not harm them unless they resist. The Zephyrian agents found themselves surrounded by humans moving with military precision. Commander Zax raised his hands in surrender, knowing that resistance was pointless. These humans had become something his people had never encountered before. Similar scenes played out on Harrison's Point and Millfield Colony. Dr. Alan Foster's team had not only identified the alien infiltrators, but had also improved upon the emotion amplifier technology. They were now using it to enhance their own capabilities even further. Maria Rodriguez's factory had become a war production facility that exceeded anything the Colonial Defense Force possessed. Her workers had designed and built weapons that could penetrate Zephyrian shields, armor that could withstand their energy weapons, and communication systems that could coordinate with the other colonies. The 3 test worlds had become more than fortress colonies. They had become humanity's greatest technological breakthrough. Captain Roy Henderson received the first reports from the 3 worlds with disbelief. According to the messages, the colonies had not only repelled Zephyrian infiltrators but had also achieved technological advances that seemed impossible. Sir, his communication officer reported, New Eden is requesting immediate transport of their new shield generators to all human worlds. They claim they can protect our entire civilization from alien attack. Henderson studied the technical specifications that accompanied the request. The designs were elegant, efficient, and far beyond current human understanding. Yet they came, with detailed instructions that any engineer could follow. Harrison's Point is reporting similar breakthroughs, the officer continued. They've developed new medical technologies, improved faster-than-light communication, and weapons that can disable alien ships without destroying them. The reports from Millfield Colony were equally impressive. Maria Rodriguez's teams had created manufacturing techniques that could produce advanced technology at incredible speed with minimal resources. Velkin received increasingly desperate reports from his fleet commanders positioned near the 3 test worlds. The colonies were not destroying themselves as planned. Instead, they were building defenses that made invasion impossible. "High Command," he reported to his superiors. "Project Heartbreak has failed. The human protective emotion has made them stronger, not weaker." "How is this possible?" General Crix demanded. "We misunderstood the nature of human protective instincts. When they believe their families are threatened, they do not become destructive. They become unified. They share knowledge, coordinate perfectly, and push their abilities beyond normal limits." The Zephyrian High Command fell silent as they realized the implications. They had not created a weapon against humanity. They had given humans the key to unlocking their true potential. On New Eden, Helen Carter stood with her son looking up at the stars. The emotion amplifiers continued to enhance their abilities, but the initial fury had transformed into something deeper. They felt connected not just to their immediate families, but to all of humanity. "Mom," Danny said quietly, "I think I understand what happened. The machines were supposed to make us attack each other by making us see threats everywhere. But humans don't just protect individuals," Helen replied, her enhanced mind grasping the full scope of what had occurred. "We protect our communities, our species, our future. When something threatens that, we don't fall apart. We come together." Around them, 200,000 colonists continued their work with perfect coordination. They were no longer just farmers, teachers, and workers. They had become guardians of humanity's future, enhanced by an emotion that the Zephyrians had tried to turn into a weapon. The weapon had backfired completely. Instead of destroying humanity, it had transformed 3 human colonies into something unprecedented. The question now was what humanity would do with their newfound abilities. The Zephyrians were about to find out. The Zephyrian fleet approached the 3 human colonies, expecting to find destroyed worlds ready for easy occupation. Admiral Korath commanded the invasion force from his flagship, confident that Project Heartbreak had succeeded beyond their expectations. "Scanning the target worlds now," his sensor operator reported. "Sir, these readings cannot be correct." "Explain." "All 3 colonies are showing massive energy signatures. Their defensive capabilities appear to have increased by several thousand% since yesterday." Korath frowned at the display screen. Instead of seeing 3 devastated worlds, he was looking at fortress colonies bristling with defensive systems that seemed impossible for humans to build. On New Eden, Helen Carter stood in the command center that had been constructed in just 48 hours. Around her, colonists worked at control stations they had designed and built themselves. Her son Danny monitored power systems that exceeded anything in their original colony specifications. "Zephyrian fleet detected at the outer system edge," reported Janet Phillips, who had somehow become their chief tactical officer despite being a schoolteacher 2 days ago. 73 ships, standard invasion formation. "Time to intercept?" Helen asked. 6 hours if they maintain current speed." Helen nodded and activated the colony-wide communication system. "All citizens, prepare for defensive operations. Remember, we're not just protecting ourselves. We're protecting the future of humanity." The response was immediate and coordinated. Factory workers began producing ammunition at incredible speed. Engineers made final adjustments to weapons that could penetrate Zephyrian shields. Medical teams prepared facilities using techniques they had developed overnight. Dr. Alan Foster on Harrison's Point received the same sensor readings. His enhanced mind processed the tactical situation instantly, seeing possibilities and strategies that would have taken military computers hours to calculate. "Contact New Eden and Millfield Colony," he instructed his communication team. "Coordinate our defensive efforts. We need perfect timing." "Already connected," replied Dr. Jennifer Walsh. "We're sharing tactical data in real time. It's like we're all thinking with one mind." The three colonies had become something unprecedented in human history. The emotion amplifiers continued to enhance their abilities, but the protective fury had evolved into something deeper and more powerful. They were no longer individual settlements. They had become parts of a unified defense network driven by the absolute determination to protect human civilization. Maria Rodriguez watched from Millfield Colony as her factory workers completed the final weapon systems. These were not crude improvised devices. They were elegant, efficient tools designed by enhanced minds working in perfect harmony. "Production complete," she reported to the other colonies. "All defensive systems online. Let's show these aliens what happens when they threaten our families." The Zephyrian fleet continued its approach, unaware that they were flying into a trap designed by humans whose capabilities now far exceeded normal limits. Admiral Korath still believed he was facing damaged colonies with minimal defenses. "Begin standard attack formation," he ordered. "Target the population centers first. We need to secure as many survivors as possible for our research programs." But as his ships moved into attack position, something impossible happened. The three human colonies opened fire simultaneously with weapons that should not have existed. Energy beams of incredible power struck the Zephyrian ships with perfect accuracy, disabling their weapons and engines without destroying them completely. "Shields failing," reported Korath's tactical officer. "Sir, how do they have this technology?" "These are human colonies, not military installations. All ships, emergency retreat," Korath ordered, but it was too late. Helen Carter's voice reached the Zephyrian fleet on all communication channels. "Attention Zephyrian forces. You have entered human space with hostile intent. Your ships are disabled. Surrender immediately and you will not be harmed." The enhanced humans had not only repelled the invasion but had captured the entire fleet intact. 73 advanced alien warships now drifted powerless in space, their crews alive but completely helpless. Captain Roy Henderson arrived with the Colonial Defense Force 3 hours later, expecting to find destroyed colonies in need of rescue. Instead, he discovered 3 fortress worlds that had achieved the impossible. "Helen," he said over the communication link, "what happened here? How did you defeat an entire Zephyrian fleet?" "They made a mistake, Roy," Helen replied, her enhanced mind already processing the implications of their victory. "They tried to weaponize our protective instincts. Instead, they gave us the ability to become what we always had the potential to be." Henderson boarded New Eden to see the changes for himself. The colony had been transformed into something that seemed decades ahead of anything Earth could build. Children worked alongside adults on projects that required advanced engineering knowledge. Farmers had become tactical analysts. Teachers had become weapons specialists. But most remarkably, everyone worked together with perfect coordination, as if they shared a single purpose and understanding. "The emotion amplifiers are still active?" Henderson asked. Danny looked up from a control panel he had designed using principles that should have taken years to develop. "We modified them. Instead of trying to make us see each other as threats, they now enhance our ability to work together. Every person in the colony is connected to our shared purpose, which is protecting humanity," Helen said simply. "Not just our families or our colonies, all of humanity." The machines helped us understand that our protective instincts aren't limited to individuals. They extend to our entire species. Similar explanations came from the other colonies. Dr. Alan Foster had used his enhanced understanding to reverse engineer all the captured Zephyrian technology. Maria Rodriguez had created manufacturing systems that could produce advanced equipment at incredible speed using minimal resources. The 3 colonies were no longer just settlements. They had become humanity's research and development centers, defended by populations operating at superhuman levels of coordination and intelligence. Henderson examined the captured Zephyrian ships and their crews. The aliens were unharmed, but clearly terrified. They had expected easy conquest, but had instead encountered something they could not understand or defeat. "What do we do with them?" he asked. "We learn from them," Helen replied. "But first we need to share our defensive technology with every human world. If the Zephyrians planned this attack, they might have other fleets approaching different colonies. The enhanced humans worked with incredible efficiency to transfer their new technologies to the Colonial Defense Force. Shield generators that could protect entire planets, weapons that could disable enemy ships without killing their crews, communication systems that could coordinate defenses across multiple star systems, but most importantly, they shared the modified emotion amplifiers themselves. We're offering every human world the chance to enhance their protective capabilities, Dr. Foster explained to Henderson. Not to make them aggressive, but to help them unlock their true potential for defending their families and communities. Within 72 hours of the failed invasion, defensive technology from the 3 colonies had spread throughout human space. Other worlds began requesting their own emotion enhancement systems. The technology that was supposed to destroy humanity was instead making them stronger than they had ever been. Velkin watched these developments from his detention cell on New Eden. The human guards treated him well, but he could see that they were different from the species he had studied. They moved with perfect coordination and seemed to share understanding without speaking. "You have destroyed us," he told Helen during one of their conversations. "No," she replied calmly. "You gave us a gift. You helped us discover what we're truly capable of when we work together to protect what matters most. We studied your species for months. We understood your protective emotions perfectly." "You understood the emotion itself," Helen agreed. "But you didn't understand what humans actually protect. We don't just defend our immediate families, we defend our communities, our values, our hopes for the future. When you threatened all of that, you didn't make us destructive. You made us transcendent." The Zephyrian Empire had lost more than a battle. They had given their greatest enemy the tools to become something unprecedented in galactic history. Humanity was no longer just another expanding species. They had become a unified civilization, capable of incredible achievements when motivated by the need to protect what they loved. The emotion they had tried to turn into a weapon had become humanity's greatest strength, and the Zephyrians were about to discover just how far that strength could reach. 6 months after the failed invasion, the galaxy looked very different. Human ships moved through star systems that had been under Zephyrian control for decades, bringing freedom to species that had lived under emotional manipulation and fear. Dr. Lisa Montgomery stood on the bridge of the Liberation ship Unity, watching as another world celebrated its independence. She wore the uniform of the Colonial Defense Force, but her role now was far more important than military rank suggested. She had become humanity's chief negotiator with liberated species. "The Altarians are requesting permanent alliance status," reported Communication Officer Jake Sullivan, who had been one of her fellow captives on the original New Horizon. "They want to learn our enhancement technologies." Lisa nodded, reviewing the diplomatic reports on her screen. Her mind, enhanced by the modified emotion amplifiers, processed complex political situations with ease. "Schedule a meeting with their council. We need to make sure they understand that our technology requires emotional maturity to use safely." The irony was not lost on her. The Zephyrians had captured her to study human emotions, never realizing they were giving humanity the information needed to turn their greatest weapon against them. On New Eden, Helen Carter supervised the construction of humanity's new technological center. The colony had grown from 200,000 people to over 2 million as enhanced humans from across known space came to work on projects that seemed impossible just months ago. Her son Danny, now 18, led a team of enhanced engineers designing faster-than-light communication systems that could connect human worlds instantly. His abilities, boosted by the emotion amplifiers, allowed him to grasp concepts that had puzzled scientists for generations. "Mom," he called out from his workstation, "we've got the quantum entanglement network ready for testing. If this works, we can coordinate all human colonies in real time." "How real time?" Helen asked, her enhanced mind already calculating the strategic implications. "Instantaneous communication across any distance, no delays, no interference. Every human world connected as if they were next door to each other." Helen smiled with pride. This was what the Zephyrians had never understood. When humans worked together to protect their families, they didn't just become stronger individually, they became capable of achievements that transformed entire civilizations. In the detention center, Former High Researcher Velkin met with Dr. Alan Foster for their weekly discussion. These conversations had become strange exchanges, where the captor seemed more curious than the prisoner. "Your people have liberated 17 star systems in 6 months," Velkin observed. "Yet you treat the former Zephyrian populations with kindness. Why?" Alan considered the question carefully. His enhanced mind could process the complex emotions and motivations involved, but he tried to explain in simple terms. Because our protective instincts aren't about revenge. They're about creating a safe future for everyone we care about. That includes former enemies who are willing to change. The other species worship you now. They call humans the great liberators. They're grateful because we freed them from emotional manipulation. But we're not trying to rule them. We're trying to build something better together. Velkin studied the human scientist with confusion. Your species has the power to conquer the entire galaxy. Your enhanced abilities make you superior to every other known life form. Yet you choose cooperation over domination. That's exactly why our enhancement works, Alan replied. We're not trying to become superior to other species. We're trying to become the best possible version of ourselves. The emotion you tried to weaponize isn't about power over others. It's about responsibility for others. The results spoke for themselves. Every world liberated by humanity had experienced rapid improvements in technology, medicine, and social organization. The humans shared their knowledge freely, asking nothing in return except peaceful cooperation. Maria Rodriguez had established manufacturing centers throughout the former Zephyrian territory. Her enhanced workers trained local populations to build everything from medical equipment to defensive systems. Worlds that had lived under oppression for decades were now thriving, independent civilizations. The beautiful thing, she explained to a gathering of planetary governors, is that everyone benefits when we all work together. Your people don't need to be enhanced like us to contribute. Your unique perspectives and abilities make our shared projects better. Captain Roy Henderson commanded the largest fleet in human history, but it was not a conquest armada. His ships carried teachers, doctors, engineers, and diplomats. They moved through the galaxy offering assistance rather than demanding submission. "Status report from all sectors," he requested during his morning briefing. "The Centauri systems have achieved full independence," his aide reported. "They're requesting human advisors to help establish democratic governments. The former Altarian worlds want to join our research projects. They believe their natural empathic abilities could complement our enhancement technology. And the Zephyrian homeworlds? Still under quarantine, but their populations are showing interest in our rehabilitation programs. Dr. Montgomery believes they could become valuable allies if we can help them overcome their cultural addiction to emotional manipulation." Henderson nodded thoughtfully. The enhanced humans had proven something that seemed impossible at the beginning of the war. Strength and compassion were not opposites. The more powerful humanity became, the more generous they seemed to grow. Back on Earth, the original human homeworld buzzed with activity as billions of people requested access to the emotion enhancement technology. But the enhanced colonies had established careful protocols. The technology was powerful, but it required emotional maturity to use safely. "We can't just give everyone instant enhancement," Helen explained to the Earth Council during a quantum communication session. "The amplifiers work by strengthening whatever protective emotions already exist. People need to understand what they're protecting and why before they can handle this level of capability." The waiting lists were long, but the screening process was thorough. Only individuals who demonstrated genuine care for their communities and families qualified for enhancement. The technology that had been designed to destroy humanity through twisted emotions could only be safely used by humans who understood what love actually meant. Dr. Lisa Montgomery visited the Zephyrian homeworld as part of the first diplomatic mission to the former Empire's capital. The planet was beautiful, but sad, filled with beings who had spent centuries manipulating others instead of building genuine relationships. "We want to learn," the Zephyrian Council elder told her through a translator. "Our methods brought us temporary power but ultimate defeat. Your way has brought you permanent strength." "It's not about strength," Lisa replied gently. "It's about connection." The emotion your people tried to weaponize works because it connects us to something larger than ourselves. When we protect our families, we're protecting our future. When we defend our communities, we're defending our values. When we help other species, we're protecting the kind of galaxy we want to live in. She paused, remembering her months in captivity and how her words had been used to plan humanity's destruction. You studied our protective emotions, but you missed the most important part. We don't just feel protective of people who are like us. We feel protective of anyone who needs our help. The rehabilitation programs for former Zephyrian worlds focused on teaching them to build relationships based on genuine care rather than emotional manipulation. It was slow work, but some populations were beginning to understand what they had been missing. On New Eden, Helen Carter stood with her son watching the sunset over their transformed world. The emotion amplifiers continued to enhance their abilities, but the protective fury had long since evolved into something deeper and more sustainable. Do you ever think about what would have happened if they hadn't tried to use our emotions against us? Danny asked. Helen considered the question. We probably would have discovered our potential eventually, but it might have taken centuries instead of months. In a strange way, they gave us the greatest gift possible. They forced us to become what we always had the capacity to be. Around them, 2 million enhanced humans continued their work building technologies and social systems that seemed impossible just a year before. They were no longer just colonists trying to build new homes. They had become guardians of galactic civilization, protectors of every species' right to live free from fear and manipulation. The Zephyrians had tried to turn humanity's greatest strength into their ultimate weakness. Instead, they had given humans the key to unlocking capabilities that transformed the entire galaxy. Love, properly understood and enhanced, had proven more powerful than any weapon ever devised. The species that had sought to weaponize human emotions had learned that some forces in the universe become stronger when attacked, more beautiful when threatened, and more generous when given power. Humanity had not just survived the attempt to turn their protective instincts against them. They had used those same instincts to build something unprecedented. A galactic civilization based on genuine care for all life.